Coming up on Tekzilla, cool off that laptop and stop the fried my thighs summer blues. Defcon, Hack 5's Darren Kitchen is eyes wide open after the hacker gathering in Vegas. Why you can't charge your iPad. Amazon's newest Kindle, Google's Malware, Mayhem, America's latest online addiction, and a stack of your viewer questions. Hey, you're vibrating. Put down that bowl of chocolate frosted sugar bombs, because Tekzilla starts now. This episode of Tekzilla is made possible by GoToAssist Express. Support smarter with GoToAssist Express. GoDaddy.com. Gamefly. Go to gamefly.com/Tekzilla for your free trial membership. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Welcome to Tekzilla. Hands-on reviews, the latest tech, and how to make the most out of the gear you've already got.
Whether you're a beginner or tech support for your friends and family, if you've got a question about tech or the best way to get crayon off a 50-inch HD TV screen, we've got an answer for you.
Guess how? And we don't have an answer.
Little spit polish, no?
No.
That doesn't work?
The spit doesn't help.
Gooby gone?
We'll talk about it. Okay. Don't put that
Melting
on the
it with
screen.
another lighter?
Oh, don't even go there. Wondering what your fellow Americans are doing online other than melting their HD TV screens? Watching videos and movies, number 6 on the list.
Yeah, that's according to the Nielsen Company, also known as the TV ratings folk who also work online. Nielsen analyst Dave Martin wrote, despite the almost unlimited nature of what you can do on the web, 40% of U.S. online time is spent on just 3 activities: social networking, playing games, and emailing.
Yeah, of those 3, social networks, aka Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, and all that stuff, led with 22.7% of U.S. internet time consumed, followed by online games with 10.2% and email with 8.3%. Social networking or social network use up 43% from last year, while email was down, brace yourselves, 28%.
Well, people are messaging so much on social networks now that they don't need to use email quite as much. All right, well, the ebook wars rage on. Amazon dropped a new Kindle last week, charging $139 for the Wi-Fi version, $189 for a version with 3G service that allows Kindle users to add content anywhere there's 3G coverage. That, of course, would be the WhisperNet. Sony told Forbes they won't be cutting prices to join Amazon. Barnes & Noble's Nook is already pretty cheap. Plastic Logic's Q has no release date, and all the pre-orders have been canceled, according to PCWorld.com.
Yeah, I'm actually curious to see what the new e-ink looks like, because they're saying it's 20% faster in terms of page turns and higher contrast, which in theory might actually mean more white and less gray-looking screens for the Kindle.
Interesting. Google's Android is outselling the iPhone. GigaOM and about 3 zillion other news sites reported earlier this week that Android devices are outselling Apple's oh-so-hyped iPhone, 27% to 23%. To be fair, though, there are a lot more Android devices out there than iPhones in terms of variety's sake.
Jeremy Tobin, his actually response on Twitter is worth noting. I love the meme today. A platform of multiple devices on 4 carriers by numerous manufacturers is now outselling a single product.
Yay, Android! Go Android! It's like the little OS that could.
I know.
The little phone OS. It keeps chugging along, and those are some hot devices they've got.
Yeah, actually, some of the new phones. We've obviously been talking about them. The Droid 10 or X, depending on how you're feeling that day. The Evo 4G.
The Evo.
Lots of good stuff out
Totally.
there. Who's number 2? What's the number 2 OS on the PC? Which, in deference to some cranky Linux users that have been emailing me over and over again, the PC is not the same thing as Windows. We know that, but hold on to see why we and the rest of America and much of the world confuses the two. Anyhow, number 2 operating system, Windows 7, which just passed Windows Vista's 14.3%. According to Net Applications, Vista's down 24% since the release of Windows 7.
Yes, XP still accounts for, brace yourselves, 61.9% of the machines out there right now. Wondering where those numbers come from? The IDG article says Net Applications uses data acquired from the 160 million unique visitors who browse the 40,000 websites it monitors for clients.
That's a pretty big pool. OS 10, by the way, is flat right now at 5% of the traffic they've measured, and there's no information on the percentage of Linux users. iPhone's OS, however, accounts for 0.7% of the traffic measured.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I actually get on my website a good number of iPhone users. You can see it counts differently from all the other.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, all the other OS 10s and Windows out there. It's pretty cool.
They're basically the same. Windows, 91.3% of all of the web traffic.
I'm not surprised. There's a lot of Windows machines out there.
So why would people confuse PCs and Windows as being the same
Don't
thing?
egg on the Linux users.
I'm teasing.
Don't incur their wrath. Anyway, let's get some questions. Daniel wrote in with a not charging question that's very near to Patrick's heart. He said, "Hi Tekzilla, seeing as though none of my computers provide enough power to charge my iPad, I was wondering if you can get or make a cable that splits the 30-pin connector to a power plug and a USB plug, letting the iPad sync with the computer while charging via a socket. Keep up the awesome show, Daniel." Ooh, the old charging message, not charging message.
Not charging message.
The old not charging drama.
Nobody gets stressed when their iPad is charging, but like, right, big kerfuffle around this. The iPad came out, everybody plugged it into the USB ports and was like, it's not charging, why isn't it charging? Technically, if you plug the iPad into a USB port and walk away for a few days, the battery level will go up some. I've had friends that started trying to figure out how long a standard 500 milliamp USB port would take to charge their iPads. It does so only if the display is off. I don't think any of them had enough patience to find out because it takes a really long time. It's effectively a very tiny trickle charge. Anyhow, the iPad uses the same dock connector as the iPod Touch, and the iPhone. Comes with a 2.1 amp 5-volt power supply for charging. That's 4 times the size, or 4 times the amperage that you're getting out of a traditional USB port.
Yeah, Apple, oddly enough, back in late 2007 or so, started putting high-powered 1100 milliamp USB ports on some notebooks and desktops that'll charge the iPad. They take longer to charge the iPad than the wall port, but they'll definitely do the job. And yes, while the iPad will charge while it's sleeping on lower-powered, i.e. most USB ports, when you fire it up, you'll get the not charging message. So
right, because
it's kind of charging.
Well, as soon as you turn the screen on, it's sucking enough power that it's not enough to really notice what's going on.
It may die slower.
There you go. This basically means all your iPhone and iPod friendly car adapters will not be able to power the iPad. I've actually been playing around a lot. I had in cases car charger I got in for eval. It's a car power socket to iPad friendly USB port adapter. Pumps out 2 amps, pretty much just like the iPad wall wart. And after a terrible mid-trip power outage yesterday that sent my son into really measurable levels of depression, I picked up InCase's somewhat chunkier combo charger, which packs, check that out, a wall wart inside of a car socket adapter. The InCase combo charger runs $40. The car charger sells for $25. Now, to answer the original cable question, Daniel, if you're going to do that, as far as I know, you're going to have to custom do that yourself. I was thinking newer technology. They have these really awesome, if you're into using your iPod or iPhone in the car, they have a really cool 3-in-1 audio sync charging cable that sells for like $9, and it splits the dock connector into a USB slash stereo output.
So what happens if you plug an iPhone into an iPad charger?
It just charges.
Yeah, I've tried it at home. It works okay. I'm just making sure I wasn't like gonna,
shouldn't be melting down.
Explosions.
Yeah, well, like a 10 volt or 50 volt 2 amp charger might be a problem, but extra amperage on that isn't going to create any difficulties.
To know.
But the cable you're looking for, you could try custom wiring it.
That'd be a nice at-home project.
Still working on a way to do that, though.
All right. Yeah. Well, let's take a moment to thank one of our sponsors, GoDaddy. Keep your personal information away from spammers, hackers, and your crazy ex-roommate. Private domain registration from GoDaddy.com protects your privacy by keeping your address, phone number, and more out of the public database. And remember, you can download GoDaddy's free iPhone, Android, or BlackBerry app to order right from your phone, manage your current domains, and more. Want a discount? Just use the code TECH12 to get $10 off of $40 or more. Check out revision3.com/GoDaddy for a list of all the amazing GoDaddy deals from Revision 3. Looks like it's time for another website we just can't get enough of. A website that we just can't stay away from because it's too useful, too funny, or just too darn irresistible. This week's pick, Tom's Planner. This suggestion comes to us from Ryan, also known as Spazlawn on Twitter. He wanted us to check out Tom's Planner, a web-based planning and project management tool. Well, color us impressed, Ryan, and Tom, whoever you are. Here's how it works. Tom's Planner is based around Gantt charts, which are a really efficient way of showing timelines for projects, and which are also really annoying to make using Excel or Microsoft projects. With Tom's, you just drag and drop to make a schedule, add icons to signify meetings or updates, and give people tasks and goals. Everything is color-coded to your liking, and right-clicking on the chart gives you access to all sorts of different options and settings. Everything is web-based, but you can export your schedule to Microsoft projects or publish to the web for everyone to see. They even have some pre-made templates to get you started if you're not sure where to begin. So if you're having trouble getting organized for that big project coming up, give Tom's Planner a spin. You can sign up for the free beta now at tomsplanner.com.
Before we move on, I want to make a correction on last week's website we just can't get enough of. The URL displayed on the screen, wrong. The lower third graphic should have said boxo.com, boxoh.com, which is a pretty spiffy way to get your package tracking on. And my apologies for the confusion. And if you haven't seen it, check out Boxo. It's like an RS. It's cool. Check it out. Hey. Now that we got that out of the way, Defcon 18, the annual, well, it's the little punk rock drunken brother of the Black Hat Security Conference. Both of them take place back-to-back in Las Vegas, Nevada every year. It's hot, it's sweaty, and this gathering of network security professionals and hackers focuses on, exposing security flaws in computers, networks, technology, humans. Here to give us his first-hand report, Hack 5 producer and host Darren Kitchen. Darren.
What's up, man?
Is this your first time on Tekzilla?
I think it might be.
That's scary, dude.
Sabotage.
Sabotage. No, because I know where you live. Uh-oh. So is this your first DEF CON?
This was. Now, I've been doing HackerCon for quite a while, but DEF CON was always laying on like the beginning of August,
right,
which typically for Hack 5 over the last couple of years has been our like big series premiere kind of, season premiere thing. So we were always like ramping up for that, and
How did DEF CON compare to other hacker, like to Hope or some of the other stuff you've been to?
It's way better than Hope. I think
Don't hack me. He said it. Hack him.
Okay, so personally, I'm not a huge fan of Hope. It's a fun party.
Right.
I've been to Hope, ShmooCon, Freaknik, TorCon. There's some really good ones, and they vary in sizes. And this one, ShmooCon is kind of like your large HackerCon on the East Coast, whereas DEF CON is like your epic mega con.
It's pretty great. Hold up the badge. Was that a press badge, or is that a...
Yeah, this is a press badge.
I'll grab the one for you. So they basically do unspoofable badges every year. They try to kind of create a badge that people are not going to... There's no paper badge will survive people who don't want to pay like $150 for a ticket. What is going on with this badge?
So this badge is using parts that they actually purchased from the previous years. It's it's not an Atmel, but it's anyway, this microprocessor here. They had this whole hoopla last year where they tried to build these electronic badges, and they ended up ordering a whole ton of them from China, and then they got held in customs, and then they were like, oh no, we need the chip. So they ordered a bunch more from some other place, and then finally the 7,500 chips that they bought from China went through customs, so now they're like sitting on all these chips, and they're like, all right, we're going to go with another electronic badge using that chip.
That would explain why they ran out of badges this year.
Well, they had 7,500, and I've heard somewhere around 9,000, so that gives you an idea of the scope.
That's a lot of people stuffed into the Riviera. Was there any big theme, or was there any event that kind of, every so often there's something so huge it kind of dominates the entire conference? Anything like that this year?
Not that I saw. It's like Disneyland. You can go multiple times and spend your time in different areas of the con and get a completely different experience every time.
Because there's like 4 tracks running simultaneously.
Right.
There's the conversations in the hallways. There's
and then
the parties.
there's all of these traditions that I'm just starting to pick up.
We won't get into those because there's children in the audience. Did you learn more watching the panels? Did you see any panels, or was it all hanging out before and after?
There were panels. There were so many lines to get into panels, and while the press badge lets you skip a lot of those, I had a much better time just getting some of the speakers to meet with them in some of the different rooms and stuff. Do interviews there, and while I would have loved to have seen all of the topics, I know I'm just going to download all of the DVDs and the videos when they come out.
UAV.
Yes, so our UAV is online. This is so cool. So this couple of hackers put together in their garage a remote control airplane with automated guidance systems where they can select on Google Maps an area where they want it to fly. They take it up in manual control. It switches over to autopilot, which is
unmanned aerial vehicle.
Unmanned aerial vehicle, and it uses an autopilot system that was built on some Arduinos, and they could say, hey, go and fly around this building. Barbed wire fences are going to keep you off the ground, but if you can get your signal up above there. So then they remote into this thing, either they said 6-mile range on the radio, or if they put a cell phone in it, they can get even further.
Wow.
They can tunnel into it. It's running a Pico ATX motherboard that's got backtrack running with a whole bunch of wireless sniffing gear. So they can literally just like put this thing in the sky, send it over to XYZ Corp, log in and start doing some wireless hacks remotely.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You would also send it over Area 51 if you had a camera.
And it would get shot down.
They spotted it. Team redacted STDIN.
Right, so it's a play on with the whole standard in, standard out Unix thing. There were a bunch of teams competing to hack the badge. And since they used the same chip this year that they did last year, these guys went all in building a virus that would spread from badge to badge.
Really?
Yeah, so this right here, you see we've got JTAG, and that allows you to interface with the board. You also have a USB port. You can change the firmware. The firmware and the source code came on a CD when you entered the conference, and these guys put together a really sick thing where you would basically use this little rubber bumper and then press your badge up to somebody else's badge that has the virus. You'd have the virus, and it kept a tally of how the infection spread from, agent 0 all the way to, all of the different ones, and then they could kind of like build a picture of the different clicks inside of the conference.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
That's really cool. H.D. Moore's Metasploit.
Well, HD Moore, great guy. Metasploit is an awesome framework for if you want to do some penetration testing, this is the one. And they were showing off some wicked new stuff on this. In particular, the thing that caught my eye was the ability to take advantage of a bug or really an oversight in VxWorks, which I wasn't really familiar with VxWorks.
VxWorks is used for controllers and very expensive and complicated objects.
Yes, it's an embedded system. It's made by Wind River Technologies, and it's in things from your Airport Express from Apple to the C-130 Hercules or the Mars rover.
It's one of those things where people don't really, if you don't work with it, you don't really think about it.
Right. So HD Moore did a little bit of penetration testing with it and found out that it, in some cases doesn't require authentication at all, and in other cases, there's a debug port on a UDP port that if you can get access to, then you're right in there and you can dump the memory, and if this embedded device hits any FTP servers and stuff like that, you can reverse where it goes. It's good stuff.
So if I can just get a Wi-Fi device, if I can get a WAP on Mars, I can take over the Mars rover.
There you go. Yeah, there's actually there's a cert advisory about it as of yet, and we can expect some manufacturers to be rolling out some patches and stuff, because that's kind of creepy and interesting.
And we should point that out. A lot of what happens at Black Hat and at Defcon is where people basically talk about exploits they've found that the vendors have patched, or if they've given the vendors what they think is more than enough time to address the issue. They release the information to the wild, which forces people to fix the problem.
Right, like I said, in this case, there's CERT advisories on the subject. So.
GSM sniffing.
GSM sniffing is so wicked. I love the fact that we've gone from hardwired sniffing to Wi-Fi
wireless.
to let's take it up a notch and go into some of the more private networks. GSM, hopefully CDMA is next. Chris Padgett was at the con talking about all the fun sniffing goodness that you can do. Basically creating your own base station, and much like we do on Hack 5 with the Wi-Fi Pineapple as a honeypot, if you will, getting somebody to connect to you rather than the network they think they're on, and then doing a little man-in-the-middle tack, seeing everything in between. Same kind of idea with basically a GSM base station.
What's crazy, he was using a universal software radio per EDIS, basically software-defined radio, which is something, was like 30, 40 grand last time I saw one a couple years ago.
Right, the ham geeks are all over this. The prices have come down significantly, and there's so much great open source software now for this that he was able to do a demo with some equipment to build his own GSM base station, to have people...
Essentially a tower.
A tower, exactly.
Or
and the people... and he had set the radio down so low. He had this huge antenna, but he had it on like the lowest setting possible, and like so much so that people in the back couldn't connect to him, but people in the front instantly turned it on, had like 15 people connect.
Wow.
And then he was their cellular provider, and
I wonder if the guys from Lookout, I know some guys that work at Lookout who do mobile security, and they're like, privacy is not security.
He actually had to go through, had some talks with the FCC before even this presentation. There were like banners there's banners all over the place saying between these hours on this day, if you don't want to be part of this experiment, turn off your phone. You've been warned. Yeah, it's good stuff. And to think, $1,500 is all it takes now with OpenBTS, which is great open source software, Asterisk,
telephony software,
also
and
a little bit of specialized timing software. You can make it happen.
That's really cool. And so basically you can now actually use the same software radio probably for shortwave scanning, potentially as a wireless access point, and the GSM base station.
This USRP board I have seen at HackerCons for the last couple of years, and it's starting to get more and more prevalent. I saw it doing some wicked Bluetooth sniffing 2 years ago at ShmooCon, and well, here we are.
I need a link for this.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I understand. Is that a Spot the Fed t-shirt?
This is a Spot the Fed t-shirt. This is one of those traditions I was telling you about where if you spot one,
basically, you grab a person you think is a Fed, an employee of the federal government, and normally you bring them in front of an audience. The audience plays 20 questions to decide whether or not they are or are not a Fed.
Right. Traditionally, Hacker Jeopardy is the place where you call someone out and you take them on stage and ridicule them and see if they break. And yeah, then you get a T-shirt that says "Spot the Fed," and they get a T-shirt saying that I am the Fed.
You enjoyed that, didn't you?
Yeah. There's two ways to out them.
You may have found someone who is much more Fed-y and important than you wanted to. No comments.
The Air Force has some really interesting departments within.
Yes, it does.
And we had to go to a special room.
A special room?
A special room.
We're going to keep that story offline. If you haven't been watching Hack 5 Darren Show, it's all about the hacking lifestyle. You're silly. You just turned 5 years old, people, and it's worth your time. You have a special episode, a hidden episode?
Episode 626 from ShmooCon earlier this year. You can find it at hack5.org/626. We've got an awesome interview with Chris Padgett about essentially the same GSM talk that he did at Defcon.
Thanks, Darren. Don't forget to catch more of Darren on Hack 5, people. If you're in tech support, your clients depend on you for fast, reliable service. That's why you need the best remote support solution available. GoToAssist from our friends at Citrix. GoToAssist was recently named the market leader in remote support by Frost & Sullivan and is recognized as the #1 remote support solution available worldwide. Why? Because it's easy, affordable, and secure. You don't have to pre-install software in your customers' machines, and you can instantly start supporting them online. Try GoToAssist Express free for 30 days. For this special offer, you must visit gotoassist.com/Tekzilla. That's gotoassist.com/Tekzilla for a free trial, and please support Tekzilla by supporting our sponsors like GoToAssist.
Our next cry of help comes from our very own Stephanie Mack, also known as Smack, also known as the Air Traffic Controller for Revision 3. She joins us by phone. Hi, Steph. How are you?
Hey there. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. So what exactly is the problem? What's ailing you?
Well, I'm just I'm running out of space on my hard drive, and I'm trying to figure out what I can delete and what I should keep.
How close are things? How tight is the situation getting?
Well, I just cleaned out a bit, so right now I have 20 gigs, but that gets used up really quickly. So
totally. All right, well, we've connected to your computer over GoToAssist. The first thing I would suggest is downloading a program called Disk Report. It's a free program for Mac or PC that will give you a graphical representation of what files are taking up space. So let's see, I already downloaded it actually for you, so it wouldn't take up too much time, but we'll open it up and see how it goes. So we will do we'll scan, let's do the whole file tree. We'll do your entire computer here. Disk drive. Is that an external drive, or is that that's your hard drive? Okay.
That's my hard drive, yeah.
Cool. Depending on how big your hard drive is, this will take, a decent amount of time. So while we let this thing search through all your files, how big is your total hard drive, by the way?
I have no idea.
Well, let's take a look. We can find that out, actually. So you've got about, 120 gig hard drive, probably not counting all the things that are being used up on the system itself. So you've got 20 left. So you've got a lot of stuff on there.
Yeah, I have no idea what it is either.
So while Disk Report is running, there's a few other things that you can do. I want to tell you about a program called App Zapper. That's one of my favorites. Now, this isn't free, unfortunately, but it's a fabulous app that you can download, and it will completely delete the entire package of an application that you're looking to delete. So that way you don't miss any files that are being installed elsewhere on your system. You just drag the application in there, and then it brings up all the related items to that application. And then it goes zoop and zaps it away. So it's a totally complete uninstall of that application.
Oh, wow, okay. That's cool.
Yeah, and it's only 13 bucks, and it's totally worth it. I use it time and time again. Definitely one of my favorites. Now, another thing that I was thinking could be taking up some space. You obviously do a lot of work in video because here at Revision 3, we obviously work with a lot of files that are quite large before we upload them. But I was thinking maybe you've been doing a lot of downloading of video podcasts or audio podcasts, and that could actually be taking up a lot more space on your hard drive than you could imagine. So one thing, first go through and clean out anything you don't need, because that will clear up some space for sure. Yeah, I can see you definitely have a lot of video shows on there, for example.
Yeah,
Actually, no,
and
not
I
too much.
don't watch very many of them.
Yeah, if you don't watch them, unsubscribe, clear out the hard drive. That should do a lot in the way of clearing things out. Another thing that you might want to check is duplicates. So sometimes in iTunes you get duplicate files or duplicate songs, and that can take up a lot of unnecessary space on your hard drive. So you just go to File in iTunes, then Display Duplicates, and that's going to bring up all your duplicate songs, and you actually have a good number of those.
Wow, I had no idea I had all these duplicates.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's one thing, like people don't expect that you have a bunch of duplicate files, but in actuality, you do.
Yeah.
So then unfortunately you have to go through and manually select each one and then hit delete. That's the one downside. There's no way to automatically delete them, but they do that as a safety. Another thing that I like to do is offload all your iPhoto pictures onto an external hard drive. This may make you a little bit nervous because it is not on your computer anymore, but you can actually have multiple iPhoto libraries, one that you keep on your computer for just downloading occasional like iPhone images or something like that, and then have an external hard drive that you actually have your iPhoto library, your main home library stored to. So that way it only syncs when you're connected to that external hard drive, but you don't have to be carrying around those, gigs and gigs and gigs worth of files. All right, JDisk Report is finally done, and we can see the breakdown of all of the files on your computer right now. So wow, all right, we've got 60.7 gigabytes in users. Let's see what's going on in here. Videos. The culprit. So now this would be a good time for you to go through and kind of, click around, do some exploring, see what kind of file types are taking up the most space, and then you can make that executive decision about what stuff you want to get rid of and clear up some space on your hard drive.
Okay, yeah.
All right, well hopefully that helps you out, Stephanie. Thank you so much for being on the show.
All right, thank you very much.
Take care.
Lon Bowie emails, yes, from the Bowie brothers. Starcraft 2 keeps overheating my MacBook Pro and shutting it down. I tried lowering all the video settings. That didn't help. So I hit up Google and came up with an article to edit a TXT file. Or text, as most people would say it. I had to lower my frame rate to 15 frames per second to play for longer than an hour. Ouch. Is there anything else I can do? I'd love to play the game at a higher frame rate. Oh boy. I'm just going to quote Apple.com on this. The bottom of the MacBook Pro case functions as a cooling surface that transfers heat from inside the computer to the cooler air outside. Well, thank you, Apple support.
Helpful. Yeah, the first thing you want to do is make sure that you're also not leaving your MacBook Pro on a bed or on a blanket or on a jacket or anything else that's going to retain a lot more heat under there. Make sure you've got some space between the desktop or the tabletop and the bottom of the laptop, because that's going to, a pencil would actually, it's going to get the air circulating a little bit more than not having it there, for example. Just like a little quarter-inch of space is going to do a lot in the way of cooling things down. You can also try speeding up your fans. Sometimes they just don't give you that kick that you really need, but if you use something like SMC Fan Control or Core Duo Temp, make sure you've updated the firmware in your MacBook, by the way. Some of them have that wonky NVIDIA like 8600 versions that run too hot, and the firmware is supposed to help with the thermal issues.
Yeah, finally I'd start thinking external notebook cooler. My short list would include Cooler Master's NotePal U2 with 2 fans. They're really big on putting 2 fans in the descriptions up on Newegg and other places. And Zalman's Notebook Cooler. People have been buying those. They seem pretty happy with them. And that's about the best you can do, is actively move cool air across the bottom of that MacBook.
Definitely.
It's just an awkward place to put the things that radiate heat on the bottom of the notebook
Yeah,
where
you
your
know,
thighs are.
Starcraft is funny too because I've been playing it on my PC and also on my Mac, and it's been running way worse on my Mac. I mean, not that I should really expect that. I mean, not that I shouldn't not expect that. I don't know. Like, I guess I didn't really have any
Do
expectations
you think it's
either
a
way.
porting issue? Like the code isn't as optimized?
I mean,
or?
maybe, but Warcraft scales really well to all sorts of different levels of machines, and Starcraft seems to be running better on my gaming PC, obviously, than it is on my MacBook Pro.
Knock wood, maybe they'll put a patch, the code will get cleaned
Yeah,
up.
I mean, I've got the settings all the way down too, and it's borderline unplayable for me on my MacBook Pro. I'm not getting the overheating issues, but just in general, I'm going to stick with the gaming PC
But
for
that's
playing
no
Starcraft.
fun. Yeah, like 15 frames per second, man, that's
Not the good.
That's painful. Coming up, more viewer questions for you. But first, Gamefly. People, Gamefly.com is the largest online video game rental service out there. They've got over 7,000 new and classic titles across all consoles and handhelds. Plans start at just $15.95 a month, and you can score 1 to 4 games at a time, keep them for as long as you like. No late fees, no due dates, and shipping to and from your house, always free, so you never have to leave the house. At least you can get to the mailbox from the house. Once you're done playing a game, send it back, and Gamefly is going to send you the next available game on your list. If you really like the game you're playing, click Keep It, and the Gamefly, well, those people are going to send you the case and manuals free of charge. If you're a Tekzilla fan, you can score a 15-day free trial. Just go to Gamefly.com/Tekzilla. Please support Tekzilla by supporting our sponsors like Gamefly.com/Tekzilla.
This next question comes to us from Chris, who wrote in asking, just wondering if either you have any experience with Google Voice. Is it a realistic replacement for a land or cell service? Chris in Carolina. Well, Google Voice, if you don't know, is a telephone service that provides a U.S. phone number picked from a list of available numbers in your area.
That one.
Yeah, well, so if you don't have, like I, for example, have a Boston phone number, but I wanted a local San Francisco number, so when I got Google Voice, I got a 415 number. The domestic calls from Google Voice are free, but the international calls are charged. Now, personally, I use Google Voice as a cell phone enhancement of sorts. It allows me to give out a number that will be funneled through Google before it gets to me, so I can screen calls and get transcripts of messages sent to me automatically over email and text. I wouldn't use it to replace my cell phone, just in conjunction with. For a home phone, though, you could pretty easily set up a VoIP handset like the Logitech wireless internet handset. You'll probably need to have a Skype out number or something, and then have the Google Voice number funnel that through to the phone.
Google Voice is only inbound. They don't do any outbound stuff.
No, you can do outbound calls, but it would need a handset. It would need something. Yeah, I guess you're right.
I mean, you don't dial out from Google Voice.
Through the app you can on like a cell phone, and if you have a handset, I think it would be able to do that if that number is routing back and forth.
Okay.
If you're using Skype, because you can actually use your Google Voice number as your Skype ID. So you can actually, so when you call people, right, instead of it showing just a random list of numbers that Skype is generating, it'll show your Google Voice number, so it'll be the same every time you call out.
Yeah, I've like Google knows everything about me because it's got my Google search and it tracks me there, and it's got my email and it tracks me there, and it's got my other email and it tracks me there. So I finally drew the line after Google Docs and just avoided Google Voice like the plague.
Oh, I like it. I like it a lot, actually. The transcriptions aren't the best, but
they're horrible.
It's fine. Alternately, if you're happy using a headset to make calls and being connected to your computer or laptop, you can use Google Voice totally free within the United States. And according to Lifehacker, which I didn't know, you can even trick your cell phone provider into giving you unlimited calls using your Google Voice number. They say the idea is that if you only use Google Voice to send and receive calls, and if you set Google Voice so that it only displays your Google Voice number when it rings, all of your calls will be free, and you may never need to use another minute again. And then it shows you how you can trick your cell phone provider into doing that for all the different providers. It's pretty clever. Yeah. One point to definitely be aware of when considering Google Voice is, as a landline replacement anyway, it has no 911 support. No 911 support. So if you've got a kid rolling around, or if you're worried about that kind of thing, if you don't have a cell phone, accident prone, yeah, it won't do 911. So that's definitely one downside.
Good to know.
Yeah. Hey, while everyone and their mother seems to be rocking a Gmail address, there are plenty of Hotmail users out there like Blair in Burlington, Ontario, who had this question to ask. I need your help with Windows Live. It seems as though Microsoft just rolled out a new version of Windows Live that automatically integrates Messenger into Hotmail as well as their Office and photo services. So now every time I log into Hotmail to check my email, it also logs me into Messenger at the same time. Please help me find a way to just log into Hotmail without having Messenger start up at the same time. Blair.
That just sounds awkward.
Yeah.
Is it possible to separate the two?
Yeah, well, okay, it's kind of complicated. I did a little research, and it seems that this feature has been ruffling quite a few feathers out there in Hotmail land.
Yeah.
And there's a way that there's a few fixes that you can try. Nothing has seemed to work 100% of the time, so we'll have to see. First, you want to go to Tools, Options, and select Sign In from the list. Then under General Selection, uncheck the following options. Automatically run Windows Live Messenger when I log into Windows. Allow automatic sign-in when connected to the internet. Then you want to make sure that you clear out all your cookies as well. If you've tried this method and it's still logging you in, you can try disabling Windows Live add-ons. That's under Tools, Manage Add-ons, Disable Windows Live. I have a feeling that Microsoft is probably going to have a fix for this sooner or later.
You mean a fix that forces you to log into Messenger, or
no,
a fix that gives you the option?
That gives you the option and leaves it off once
Right.
you turn it off. Because some people said that these fixes worked, but then after a while it started logging them in again. I know with Gmail, for example, they've got Gtalk that logs in,
Right.
but you can turn off that setting so you don't have to worry about it. You just have to poke around a little bit. If you guys have found a fix out there, let us know. Tekzilla at revision3.com.
Meanwhile, write Steve Ballmer and tell him to separate it.
Fix that.
Fix that. Finally, we got Aaron who wanted to reiterate what we said about the Google search redirect malware. He writes, the Google redirecting malware, which almost nothing can get rid of, is likely the TDSS rootkit. It's been infecting and patching the storage drivers and all sorts of nastiness. There's a free tool from Kaspersky called the TDSS Killer, which can also nuke this thing from orbit. That's pretty serious. Malware lately has been getting more interesting. I've seen rootkits infecting drivers and then masking themselves from the operating system for a while now. But also lately, I've seen them inserting a scheduled task on the system so it will reinfect itself at a later date. As you suggested in the show, an updated antivirus, anti-spyware is an important step in preventing malware, but so is keeping third-party software like Adobe Reader, Java, and Adobe Flash updated. In addition, safe browsing habits along with keeping your machine software updated will help keep you safe on the web. Aaron, wise and useful words.
So yeah, pretty much do what we said. Update the antivirus and malware software, and while you're at it, update your web browser, Flash, and Java. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound or even a metric ton of cure.
I'm actually going to run that Kaspersky tool to see whether or not there's something sitting in the back corners of my
Not a bad
system.
idea.
For everybody watching, we live on your questions, so email us, Tekzilla at revision3.com. Tech Health product reviews, how-tos. You ask us, we'll do it. But we need those emails, people, so don't be shy. Send them in to Tekzilla at revision3.com.
Even better, send us in a video question. Think of all the fun you can have and the admiration of all your friends and family when they see your mug on our show. Just keep it to 15 seconds, upload it to YouTube, and send us a link in an email with video question in the subject line.
Do us a favor, follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Tekzilla. Gosh, I'm going to have to log into Facebook again. Friend us and join an exclusive club of like-minded fans and tech enthusiasts. And as always, you can visit our forums at revision3.com/forum. Share your thoughts, ideas, or comments with other fans of the show.
Thank you guys so much for watching.
I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Until next time, you've been watching Tekzilla. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another fine blended edition of Tekzilla. Today we're going to light a small marsupial on fire using nothing but static electricity and hope. Watch that little bastard squirm coming up next on Tekzilla.